TMS is always working on making you a better developer. I would like to introduce you to a solution for the common web versus desktop dilemma. A common scenario we see these days is, which application type are we going to develop? A web application or a desktop application? Because sometimes you have a web solution, for example, your product catalog, and you need a desktop application as well. The problem with most frameworks is that the desktop solution and the web solution cannot share a lot of code. Also, the user interface design for the desktop application is completely different from a web client. So most of the time, even when using TMS WEB Core, you need individual development for both. That's the academical stuff. Let's look at a concrete example. On the screen you see a web application that I have developed using TMS WEB Core. It connects to an X-Data server and it provides configuration for the X-Data server, how the X-Data server is connecting to the database backend. I can also start and stop services on the X-Data server using this web interface. In addition to the main form, I also can get statistical information about the X-Data server, how its storage space looks, and also what the memory usage looks like. This is a FNC gauge control, and this is again a bootstrap table. Also note that this is a pop-up that can be resized. Everything has been implemented using TMS WEB Core with bootstrap additions. So the user interface is a mixture between HTML using bootstrap and Delphi controls for TMS WEB Core. In order to provide a desktop application, we could start Delphi and create a new VCL Forms application. However, the user interface that we built for this application would have to be dropped and we would have to recreate it using VCL controls. Alternatively, of course, we could use FNC controls and also be able to target for multiple platforms, mobile and desktop. Still, we would have to reinvent a lot, we would have to redesign the user interface, and some of the code would have to be changed. So here's the big reveal. If you go to File, New, TMS Web to get all the project wizards for TMS WEB Core projects, there is a new entry in the list called TMS WEB Miletus application, or Miletus, depending which side of the Atlantic you live on. I created a new TMS Miletus application and copy-pasted the TMS WEB Core application into that application template. I only had to make a few modifications. There will be a lengthy hands-on video giving you all the steps necessary, what you need to do. This video is dedicated to show you what you will be able to do soon. Miletus applications can be compiled directly inside of the RAD Studio IDE. Targets right now are Windows and macOS. The project has been successfully built and we can run the application. This is exactly the same user interface that you use for the web application, just compiled as a Windows desktop application. You have the ability to create multiple forms, exchange data between those forms, and as you can see, this form even uses the same X-Data server backend as the main form. The functionality is the same, the implementation is exactly the same. There are two major changes necessary, and I'm going to go into them really quick. The latest version of Delphi makes it very easy to compare two files. On the left, you see the original web client application written in TMS WEB Core. The form has the base class TWebForm. The one change necessary is to replace it with a T-Miletus form. That's change number one, and of course, you need to add the necessary units to the project. And the second big change is you need to create T-Miletus Windows instances for each additional form you want to use. That's it. Stay tuned for a hands-on step-by-step video how I converted or migrated this TMS WEB Core client application to a TMS Miletus desktop application. Let's look at the deployment of a TMS Miletus application. Solutions like this to create a desktop application based on a web application have been heavily criticized on the internet because of deployment issues, the amount of libraries that are needed. Right here, you see the executable file, the only file that needs to be deployed for a Miletus application. So just as you're used from Delphi, you have all the information in one executable file that you need to deploy to the target system. No other additional libraries are needed. either on Windows or on macOS. And that is the power of TMS Miletus. You will be able to work with it in the coming weeks. Stay tuned.